I'm sorry. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me now? Please put it in the comment section. Okay. It's okay now? Good. Good. So I'm so sorry, guys. I did testing out this new software, and I feel like um the entire streaming is a bit backwards. So I'm speaking, but it's coming in after the fact, which is weird. Um, Again, we're playing with this new software, and it's just makes things complicated. Anywho, so please still put it in the comment section if you can hear me properly, so that way I know that I'm good to continue. Can everybody hear me? Hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. All right. So today I just felt like we should come on here and answer some general Q&A answers, questions. So if you have questions, my name is Simi. For those who might not know, I'm a lead consultant for Citadel Global Immigration. And we know that there's been a lot of changes when it comes to migrating to Canada. And some people may have questions, just generally speaking, right, when it comes to Canada migration and the pathways that are available. So we did pull up some questions, and then we're going to be reading those and then answering some of these questions so that people can have better understanding of what to expect. And if you have any questions as well, please put in the comment sections and then we can talk about them. Okay. All right. So, migrating to Canada, some of the questions that we have are, what are the current I'll put that off. I was like, no, let me start from are they changes to the postgraduate work permit program? So yes, they are definitely here. Postgraduate work permit delay. I know. When you say postgraduate work permit delay, can you expand on that? Like, what do you mean by that? Because I mean, there's been a lot of changes when it comes to postgraduate work permit delay. Well, not postgraduate work permit delay. There's been a lot of changes to Canada, studying in Canada, migrating to Canada, postgraduate work permits, and all of that. And it's definitely impacted a lot of international students, especially with the new changes that came up as of last year, November, and even an update that was made recently in January. And one of the changes that was made with regards to postgraduate work permit is that now, if you're applying for postgraduate work permit, you do need to have your English test done. um there's both pros and cons of that, because the pro will be, if you're looking to apply for PR after your work experience, you do need to have English test done. So the good thing about it is that once you do that English test, you have at least 2 years to apply for your PR, because the postgraduate work permit is valid. The English test result is valid for 2 years. So you have about 2 years to apply for PR without before you eventually need to take another one. And the hope is that within the time, that 2 years period, you're able to create your express entry profile. If not, then you would have to redo it. Then the other thing, so we know that I'll just go through some of the changes with postgraduate work permits. So if you're doing a bachelor's degree, doing a master's degree, if you're doing a PhD degree, you do have to take the English test. The band score is different depending on your level of education. For those who are applying for masters, bachelors, and PhD, you need to have a CLB 7 when it comes to you need to have a CLB 7 when it comes to doing your English test. And like I always say, even if you're applying for postgraduate work permit even if the test you're doing is for the purpose of postgraduate work permit, it's very important that you at least try to maximize your score, because when you maximize your score, like I said, if your intention is that you want to use the same test score for your express entry PR application, you don't have to redo the test. And we all know that right now, with express entry provincial nominations, the draws that are happening is targeting the best of the best of the best. And that means that your English test has to be great. There is no going with the bare minimum or doing just CLB 7. You need much more than that to be able to get an invitation to apply. And you know that language test is just one of the major requirement, one of the many other requirements that you would need for this express entry pathway or the PR application process. So CLB 7 is the minimum that you need to have when it comes to migrating to when it comes to applying for postgraduate work permit. If you're looking to, and that's for those who are in university, bachelor's degree, PhD, master student. If you're a college student, your CLB, the minimum requirement is CLB 5. You need a CLB level 5 to be able to apply for postgraduate work permit, to be eligible for that. Again, do not go with the minimum. Try to go with you want to make sure that you're going with more than just the average score, right? So that's that. Somebody's asking, when you apply for postgraduate work permit with your family, it takes months before you can get your work permit. Yes, I know the delay right now is very, very long. I'm gonna try and see if I can check what the processing time is. Excuse me, let me just check that, because I know that I think it's just with IRC, there's just a lot of changes that are happening. And I hear that there's also supposed to be some layoffs happening also in IRCC, within IRCC. And what that means is that we're expecting a lot of delays that will happen to some of this applications, or even all of our applications. So let's take a look at this postgraduate work permit, what the processing time is. 119 days. Now, I don't know how long you've applied for, but as of February 12th, the processing time is 119 days, and it does take a while. So 119 days is almost about 4 months is what we're looking at. I don't know how long you've applied, but like I said, there's been a lot of reshuffling that is happening right now. So it's impacting, unfortunately, some of these applications. Even visitors visa is taking a whole long time to process. So it's unfortunate, and which is why the good thing is about the good thing about this is that you can still continue working, right? If you're the principal applicant on your spouse, you can still continue working based on the fact that you have that acknowledgement letter, that letter of authorization that allows you to continue working. So it's not the case where you have to stop working the moment you apply. So that's just a good thing, right? So yeah, that's that. Let's take another question. Let's see. So, has the student direct stream program been affected? Yes, yes, yes. This has been stopped. As of last year, there is no longer students direct stream pathways. And for those who might not know, the student direct stream is basically you're allowed to apply for, you get priority processing. If you do English test, you get GIC certificate, you pay your 1 year tuition fee, you get police report, medical examination done. You're able to apply for direct or urgent processing, quote and unquote, for students for study permit. Unfortunately, that's not the case, right? And like I said, in order to qualify, you had to have paid your tuition, you had to have gotten GIC certificate to be able to benefit from this pathway. But that's no longer the case. As of last year, I think about November or there about October, everybody's being given a fair chance. So everything that is required now is everyone is in the same boat, in the same pool of things. And what right now, what I'm even saying or telling my clients is that if you're looking to apply for study permit right now, you have to be going in headstrong. That is, you're getting your tuition done, paid, not just the deposit. I know that sometimes the deposit might take about you might need to pay maybe $10,000 for deposits, or $8,000, 7,000. Some might still be accepting 5,000 or 1,000. But what I'm saying is that if you're looking to put in the best game for your study permits, someone is asking, I just want to take this, is this section related to studies only on even work? Is related. So Lennon, it is related to everything. So we're just doing a general Q&A session on Canada immigration and pathways. So if you do have any questions whatsoever, we will take them. Okay. But obviously, we can only take general questions. It won't be specific to your own path situation, just because we cannot provide legal advice on here. It has to be for information purposes only. So that's that. So, like I said, the postgrad. So I was talking about the study permit right now. If you're looking to apply for study permit and you're looking to come into Canada in 2025, then you want to make sure that you're putting the best of the best um application forward. And I'm also telling people that if your application has been refused and you know that you had a very solid application from the get-go, then you want to consider appealing your you want to consider appealing the decision that you got. Because right now immigration, there's only, and I know one of the immigration one of the questions that we had was the immigration targets for Canada in 2025. And I'll just talk that briefly to explain what I'm trying to say. So for students, the immigration levels plan, let me see if I can share screen. Oh, I hope I don't mess this up. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so I'll do this, and we will do this as well. I don't know if the people on Instagram will be able to see my screen as well, but let's see it. So, some of the, let me see. So, I guess if you're on Facebook, on YouTube, you might have the benefit of sharing, of seeing my screen. But anyways, if you're looking to apply as a student in Canada right now, the Canada immigration target is only for 2025 is only for 300. They're looking to bring in 305,900 people. So that means that right now is going to be very, very tight. You who is looking to come into Canada in 2025 as a student, you're looking to put in an application for study permit, you'll have to be ready to do whatever it takes. That includes paying your full-time tuition if possible for 1 year. Pay the full tuition for 1 year, get your GIC guarantee investment certificate done, and then make sure your statement of purpose is very, very airtight. I should also say, for those who are looking to come into Canada, make sure that depending on your level of education, if you're still doing a bachelor's degree, that's fine. But if you're coming as a college student, you want to make sure that your education, the education you're enrolled in, is tied to the eligible field of study to get postgraduate work permit. Because one of the changes to that, to right now, is those who are looking to come in after, obviously we are looking to come in right now, and you're looking to apply for postgraduate work permit, and you're in a college program, you have to be in the eligible field of study. And what are the eligible field of study? Education, transport, trades, STEM, healthcare, agriculture. Those are the eligible fields of study that will qualify for postgraduate work permit as of right now. Things may change in the next year or two, but as of right now, if you're looking to come into Canada and your education, you're getting maybe a postgraduate diploma or whatnot, make sure your program is in this eligible field of study. Otherwise, you risk not getting a postgraduate work permit. And I know that one of the good things about coming to Canada is that a lot of people have that benefit of working in Canada, right? As a postgraduate work permit, and that's the one of the easiest pathway to get permanent residence, at least before things stopped, before things changed. These policies have changed now. So I'm pulling this up so you know that there's only about 305,900 students that will be allowed to come into Canada in this year 2025. Okay, so that's one of the changes. I'll use that to talk about some of the changes with the economic pathways. We're looking at 41,700 people in Canada. This is my Canadian experience class, folks. Provincial nominations is another one, but Canadian experience 82,980. So you can see that right now Canada is not playing. If you're looking to come into Canada, you'll have to make sure you're putting in a very, very strong application. Otherwise, you're jeopardizing the pathway. Yeah, right. The opportunity to come into Canada. So I'll stop sharing here and go back. Um, okay. Oh, you guys were able to see it. Okay. Is there any program available right now? I mean, there's definitely lots of programs available right now. It's just a matter of um what are you looking for? What are you eligible for? So for someone like you, Baker, I hope I got your name right. You just have to book a consultation so that we look at what your qualifications are, your experiences are, and then we can provide you with accurate advice as to what's what to expect and how to what pathways applicable to you. What about someone who wants to work together to Canada in Canada? So, if you're looking to work in Canada, please know that there's two main pathways that people use to work in Canada. Number one, you get a job in Canada, like LMIA, that requires a labor market impact assessment. What that means is that if you're looking to come into Canada, your employer has to satisfy ESDC, that's Employment Service Development Center, that they want to employ you, but for some reason they're not able to find either a permanent resident or a Canadian citizen for this particular job. And obviously you're very qualified, and they will want to offer you this role. If they're not able to satisfy that, then you won't be able to come into Canada to work. So first, when you get a job, you want to make sure that the job is either LMIA exempt or is LMIA approved. If you require LMIA, labor market impact assessment, then your employer has to submit the LMIA application to ESD, after which they get an approval, and then they give you the code, the job offer, employment, everything that you need, the labor market impact assessment code that you then put on your work permit application to come into Canada. I know a lot of people pay people for jobs and whatnot, and right now is not as it seems anymore. If you pay people for jobs, you might either be caught for misrepresentation or for fraudulent activities, and you might get a ban. And you don't want to do that. So you want to be very careful. One thing I also want to say is that when it comes to labor market impact assessment, your employer has to pay you a certain amount of salary. So if you're working, and not only do they have to pay you a certain amount of salary, you also get to you're given a closed an occupational work permit in most cases, and that means that you can only work in that specific field, either just for the employer or just in that occupation. You don't have the liberty to just work anywhere like someone with a postgraduate work permit would have. So that's one of the things you have to be wary of. You are only limited to the employer that brought you to Canada, and sometimes you're limited. For care workers in the past, they would get an occupational work permit that only allows them to work as a caregiver, nothing more. Okay. And the second way you can get a work permit is if you fall into the LMIA exempt code. So for those, maybe like a charity organization, maybe a church is bringing you to Canada, then you might, and maybe as a pianist or a musician, whatever the case may be, right? They satisfy that requirement that you skill, you have some kind of benefits to the organization, then you fall under the LMI exempt code. You would then also they will also need to give you some kind of code that you will use to apply for your work permit. Okay. Um, I'll talk about one more pathway is for those who have spouses in Canada. So if you were to get married and your spouse is a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, they're able to sponsor you to come to Canada. Now, for those who are just applying, who are within Canada, maybe you came as a visitor and you got married, your spouse is here in Canada, um you're now here to apply for spousal sponsorship. You'll have the benefit of changing your status as a visitor to a work permit after you submitted your PR application. So that's another way. So you're able to stay in Canada while your PR is being processed and then you get a work permit. Other than that, there's no other way that you can do that. Okay. And I'm going to use talk about this this pathway is I would talk about that. Let me see. Let me talk about the people coming into Canada as asylum seekers. Someone is asking, how do one apply? Righteous PP. I'm not sure what exactly you're trying to apply for, so maybe be more specific so that way I can answer your questions. So yeah, uh, yes. So the other pathway is, I think one of the questions that we had was that why is what's causing the current immigration changes and whatnot? And I should just say that it's because there's a lot of first housing issues that people are saying, right? Um, housing issues. Can you guys hear me? Hello. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. So there was some housing issues that was happening, right? And obviously that's the idea that the people were going with is that because there's a lot of people coming into Canada, it's impacted the housing markets, there's less housing for people, and the houses that are available, it's very expensive. So that's number one. Housing matters have impacted people's this current changes that we're seeing. The second thing is also that um a lot of people, and this is for people who come with intention to either work or study, or just you came in to come and visit or study, and for some reason you decided not to go back and you make refugee claim. I just want to say that this is why we're seeing some of these changes, because a lot of people, the Canada immigration saw that a lot of people will come under the disguise of either as a visitor or as a student, and then immediately they come back, they come into Canada, within a week or two they're going to go and make an asylum claim. Obviously it seemed that the intention behind coming to Canada in the first place was not to study, it wasn't to visit. The intention was to just come and make asylum claim, which impacted things. And that's why we've seen that even for study permits applications now, we see for those who are looking to visit in Canada, the process now is very rigorous, it's very rigid. And this is why, because they're limiting, they've seen that a lot of people, and there was some chats, one spreadsheet where there was the highest number of people. It had like a whole um I'll try to see if I can find that, but it had a whole number of people, the countries that were more prone to do this. I think India was number one, Nigeria was number two. I can't remember the other countries that were there, but this is one of the reasons why people, like, we've seen this changes to immigration, because they're trying to limit the amount of people that are coming into Canada and to make sure that the people that are coming into Canada have the best intention. There is no there is no manipulation, right, to the process. And that's why we're saying all of this. So it's very important that if you're coming to Canada, please make sure that you understand what pathway you're coming. And if you're coming to Canada, you want to make sure that please, can someone confirm if my camera is paused on Instagram? I just want to make sure that everyone can see me properly. Uh if not, can someone just confirm that, please? I'm just gonna check on my end. On my end. Okay. All right. I think it's just me. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for confirming. Again, I'm just right now I'm using a new software, and I'm just trying to make sure everything's working as it should. But yes, so if you're coming to Canada, I know there's the asylum pathway, right? Refugee pathways. If your life is at risk, please make sure you understand what it is that you're going for. If you're trying to make a claim for refugee, please know that this is for people that either you're facing a danger or you're facing some kind of persecution. Those are the grounds that your life is at risk. Those are the grounds for making a refugee claim. Do not just come in as a visitor, and then just because people are telling you. I think what I'm trying to say is, for those who are coming to Canada, do not be misled, because there are definitely different pathways that that you may be eligible for. But because people are promising and telling you this refugee asylum, you'll be able to work, you'll be able to stay in Canada, you'll be able to get some government assistance, this is where you need to go. Please do not make the mistakes. I've seen a lot of people that have made refugee claims, and down the line they've regretted it. Please and please make sure that you're very well informed and you're not making decisions based on what people are just telling you. Book a consultation with an immigration consultant, immigration lawyer, and make sure you're getting the best advice possible. I'll leave that as that and then talk about one last thing. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is the caregiver pathways that people have also been asking. What are the eligibility requirements about the caregiver pathway, and how do people utilize this pathway? How do I need to prepare? What I'm also telling people is that this pathway right now, the specific eligibility requirement is not known, right? We have limited understanding, limited requirements that we're working with. Like, for example, we know that you need to have relevant work experience. You know that we need to get your English test done. We know that you need to get your educational assessed. You need to get police record. You need to get medicals done. These are the things that we can tell you for sure. If you have people giving you a rigorous list of documents and telling you to make huge sum of money, you are in at risk of being in a huge problem, right? Because right now, there's not much we know, especially for those international students or workers here in Canada looking to benefit from this pathway. We don't know what the modalities will be when it comes to transitioning in terms of your job offer. We know you need a job offer, but what is the requirement for the employer that is trying to employ you? How much do they need to pay you? Things like that. For you as an individual, how much relevant experience are we looking at? Is it 6 months? Is it 12 months? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? We know that for this caregiver pathway, right, and every other thing, there's about maybe 7,500 applicants that they're looking to get in this 2025. I hope I have that numbers correctly. So that means that you are let me just confirm that actually so that I give you uh let's see. We know that is opening up March 31st, 2024. uh let's see. Okay, I don't want to waste time on this, but under this notice, right, under this Canada immigration pathway, let me try and share my screen again. Under this immigration pathway, right, let's share the screen again, right, so you guys, this, yes, so this immigration pathway, this targets, the immigration targets for caregivers, federal economic, the caregivers, agriculture, community, all of this. There's only a total of about 10,920 people that they're looking to bring in. 10,920. And I believe caregiver should be around either 7,500 between this year and next year, or 7,500 this year. That number is very, very small. It's very, very small. And that means that as a care, for you who is looking to stop sharing, for you who is looking to come into Canada as a caregiver, you have to make sure you have all your documentation very well done and you're well prepared. Again, the requirements to this is not well known, and that means that you have to get your documents right. You have to be careful the kind of people you are engaging for these services. Otherwise, you don't want to be caught for misrepresentation or fraudulent activities or even duped, right? And a lot of times this is what happens. So March 31st, 2025 is when we expect this program to open. I should also say that this pathway will probably not last for more than a day. Even 1 hour might be the best it will go on for. After that, it's done. So make sure you get all your document. We're hoping that by the end of this month, before the end of this month, we actually have the exact eligibility requirements, the documentation, all of the things that you need to have done by the end of this month. So once we have that from immigration, we will be sure to post that on our platforms so that you all will be well informed. In the meantime, the things that you can work on to prepare yourself for this pathway, you need to get your educational credential assessed if you haven't done so, because that is a requirement. That you need your highest level of education that is required is a high school diploma. But if you have, obviously, if you have a higher education, it doesn't disqualify you. So you want to make sure that you get your educational credentials assessed for this pathway, and that could take a while. So you want to start now. Police report, you want to also get that done. You would need police report from anywhere you have stayed for more than 6 months. That's something you want to make sure you're working on right now. The last thing is your English test. Make sure you get your English test done. The minimum requirement for English test is CLB 4, that is required for all sections of the test. And again, that's very minimal, but I always tell people, try to maximize your chances, because right now, with these people, with the limited number of people that are open to invite to benefit from this pathway, you want to make sure you're putting your best foot forward, because who knows what they will come with. So make sure you have the language test done. And yeah, for more information on that, we'll just stay tuned. Make sure you're following us on our platforms if you're already not doing that, because that's where we'll be posting new updates as they come to our attention. Okay, and let me see if there's any questions here that I can take before we call it a wrap. Do those farm jobs or general work we see advertised really exist? I'm not sure. It depends on where you're saying that. It could be. Yeah, I'm not sure where you're saying that, so I can't really say whether or not they exist or not. Righteous PP says, I mean relocating with family. What was the questions before that? Yeah, relocating with family again, you will have to do, I would recommend you do a consultation, because there's definitely different pathways you can come in. If you're looking to study, you cannot, and you're doing a college degree, you cannot come with your family, unless of course your wife, your children are looking to apply for, your wife specifically, or your spouse is applying for a visitor's visa, because now the only master students can bring their family to Canada, and PhD students. Or if you're doing professional degree, any other kind of education will not allow you bring your spouse under the spousal open work permit. So that's that. Okay. Any other questions? If there isn't, thank you all for joining. It was really nice having this session. And please follow us on platforms. If you do have further questions, feel free to send us an email at admin@citadelglobalagency.com, and we'll be sure to answer your questions. Follow us on our social media platforms to also stay updated with new policies, new updates. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Someone is asking how much a consultation fee is. Our consultation fee is 150 USD, and you can also send us an email as to find out more about how this process works. Okay, all right. Thank you, everybody. Have a lovely rest of your day. Bye.